When you're standing in front of a wall of specs and glossy screenshots, it's easy to feel like you're about to sign a contract you don't fully understand. That's why I'm taking a step back and walking through the HP OMEN 45L AI gaming desktop the way a real buyer would, thinking about the desk space it will occupy, the games you actually want to run, and the kind of upgrade path you might need in a few years. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. Let's see if this tower lives up to the hype or if it's just another oversized badge for a machine that could be overkill for most people. First off, the biggest hesitation most shoppers have with a high-end desktop like this is the question of, do I really need all this power? The OMEN 45L comes with a 15th Gen Intel Ultra 9285K processor paired with an RTX 5090, 128GB of DDR5 RAM, and a 2TB PCIe SSD. Those numbers scream future-proof, but in everyday use you'll rarely see every core of that CPU lit up unless you're running heavy-duty video rendering or AI workloads alongside your games. For the average gamer who spends evenings on titles like Cyberpunk 2077 or Elden Ring, the combination will keep frame rates well above 144 frames per second at 4K. But you'll notice the real advantage only when you push the settings to the max or dive into 8K streaming. If you're mostly playing at 1080p or 1440p, the extra horsepower is more about bragging rights than necessity. The first thing I did was pull the tower out of the box and set it up on a standard desk that already holds a dual monitor rig, a mechanical keyboard, and a decent pair of headphones. The OMEN 45L's footprint is larger than a typical mid-tower, thanks to its 360mm AIO liquid cooler and the RGB lighting strip that runs along the side panel. It fits comfortably, but you'll need a bit more clearance behind it for airflow. Don't try to squeeze it into a cramped cabinet. The included portable USB hub, the Dockztorm data hub, is a nice touch if you already have a tangle of peripherals. It adds a couple of USB-C ports and a quick way to expand connectivity without hunting for extra adapters. One practical strength that becomes clear once you start gaming is how the cooling system behaves under load. The 360mm radiator with 3 RGB fans keeps temperatures in the low 70s Celsius even during marathon sessions in Microsoft Flight Simulator. Most users worry about thermal throttling with high-end GPUs, but in my tests the RTX 5090 stayed well below its thermal limit, and the fans only ramp up noticeably when the CPU hits sustained spikes. That means you can push graphics settings without hearing a constant whine, which is a quality-of-life win for anyone who streams or records gameplay on the same machine. On the flip side, the 1200W power supply is generous, but it also adds to the overall weight and price. The unit is definitely not something you'll want to relocate frequently. If you're the kind of gamer who moves between a home office and a friend's place, you might find the bulk a bit inconvenient. Also, while the power supply can handle future upgrades, the tower's design doesn't make swapping out the GPU a quick tool-free process. You'll need a screwdriver and a moment of patience, which isn't a deal-breaker but something to keep in mind if you plan to upgrade every couple of years. Another aspect worth mentioning is the Wi-Fi 6E and Bluetooth 5.4 combo. In my house, the Wi-Fi 6E connection delivered stable, low-latency performance even when multiple devices were streaming 4K video in the background. That's a genuine advantage for gamers who rely on wireless connectivity and don't want to run an Ethernet cable across the living room. However, the Ethernet port is still present, and for the most consistent ping in competitive titles, plugging directly into the router will still give you the best edge. Now let's talk about storage. The 2TB PCIe NVMe SSD is fast enough that you'll barely notice loading screens in most modern games, and the extra space means you can keep a sizable library without constantly juggling installations. If you're a content creator, the SSD also speeds up raw video imports and renders. The downside is the lack of a secondary drive bay that's easily accessible. Adding a large HDD for mass storage means you'll have to open the case and mount it in a less convenient spot, which might deter users who want a simple plug-and-play expansion. Who should consider buying the OMEN 45L? If you're a serious PC gamer who wants to game at 4K with ultra settings, stream in high resolution, or dabble in GPU-intensive tasks like 3D modeling, this machine gives you a level of raw power that most mid-range builds can't match. It's also a solid choice for people who appreciate a tidy interior. HP's cable management is decent, and the AIO cooler keeps the system quiet enough for late-night sessions. On the other hand, if you're primarily playing esports titles at 1080p, or if